order, and I want to thank everyone for their attendance. It's 7:02. If we can go ahead and get the roll call, please.
Carla, is that you?
Yes, Commissioner Inglesby,
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jones. Mayor Mitchell.
Here.
Coach.
Here.
Ellison.
Present.
Flores Kell.
Here.
Rizzo.
Present.
Bradshaw. Present. Tobias.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. And I want to welcome the new members. I know we have some new members, and so thank you all so much for your attendance. Our next item is to approve the minutes. If you have had an opportunity or have not, if you want to take a look at those, and then I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, motion to approve the minutes is written.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, and if not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed or abstentions? Okay, if not, then it's passed. Next, item number 3 is citizen comment period. Has anyone signed up for comment?
No, no one has signed up, Commissioner.
Okay. All righty. So we will go on to the next item, which is item number 4, consider impossible action. First item is to discuss plans for regional sportsplex, including grading, design, and construction for the regional detention pond.
All right, I'll jump in and take that one. Madam Chair, TIRZ Board, Scott Sellers, City Manager for the record. Pleasure to be in front of you this evening. We've got a great agenda here to finish out the year, and I want to commend each of you for everything we've accomplished so far. It's been a great year despite the many setbacks. We've kept our projects moving forward. The City Council met Tuesday night and approved a cost-sharing agreement with a couple of entities, Mountain Plum, as well as Lennar. And I am going to throw a visual up here on the screen. As I do so, I'll explain this cost-sharing agreement was for the construction of the East Side Detention Pond, which is the 39-acre pond that we as a TIRZ board have been discussing converting that to a recreational purpose. It also includes the transfer of 21 acres on the west of 1626, which was originally slated to be detention, and that is planned to be a festival and sportsplex ground. And so we've talked a little bit about what that overall sportsplex could look like, and we've worked with Stephen Spears, who is here in the meeting with us, and he put together a rendering that I'm going to show. It is in your packet as well. So what you see on your screen is really a very preliminary draft. So I need to make that clear publicly. This is just a first blush conceptual plan based on the conversations that have occurred, not only with the TIRZ board, but additionally as the city and TIRZ have submitted projects to the county POSAC group. This was a project that was requested a match against the city's parks bond monies of $7 million. So it would be a $7 million city contribution and then a $7 million match from the county. And as we put together the plans for that project and submit that, there were quite a few different elements, recreational elements that were included in the plan. So you can see here, there's a little legend up top, but as we look at the east side pond, this is what the part of the cost sharing agreement was to construct and dedicate to the city and the TIRZ for ultimate maintenance. And then this is the 21 acres here on the west. Let me focus first on the east pond here. This is a first and foremost a detention facility. As we pushed the detention away from this area here, enlarged or oversized the pond on the east. The question was, could we grade and shape the pond here on the east to accommodate additional recreational uses or festival type of uses, as well as 39 acres is quite a large area that could handle some significant events. The Lennar and Mountain Plum groups were able to come together with the city. They were able to put forward the financing to construct the pond, and then they will, in perpetuity moving forward, they will collect dues from their respective HOA and POA to maintain and inspect the pond. That is for detention purposes. Then what would happen is that facility will be dedicated over to the city. We will then work with the TIRZ to maintain to a higher standard, meaning to a recreational standard. That recreational purpose would be to flatten or make the grade to where it slowly crowns in each direction off some of these practice fields, and you can see we can get a good 5 full-size soccer fields in this pond area. The goal that we will bring back to the TIRZ board in the future is to have a third-party landscaper maintain this, cut the grass and maintain it as a soccer or flat grass recreational open field complex. There will be other elements that we could tuck into this area as well, and you can see some playground elements, some parking, potentially some volleyball courts that are coming into the pond and around this facility. So we really do have a great opportunity from the TIRZ perspective to maintain this as a recreational complex. The additional plan could include some landscaping as well as some sprinkler facilities, just to make sure that that grass stays vibrant throughout the playing season. What I do need from the TIRZ board on this piece in particular is a blessing. I don't necessarily need a approval of anything tonight, because I don't have an engineer's proposal in front of you, but I have been speaking to Landev. They are the group that's been working on behalf of Lennar and Mountain Plum to build this pond. The current engineer drawings does not include the grading and shaping of the pond floor, and the project has been bid and let, and I believe now a notice to proceed has been authorized to the contractor to begin building the walls, etc., of the pond. To finish out this recreational facility here and to grade and shape that floor, we have an estimate of $21,000 of preliminary design work And then there was about another $5,500 of post-design or post-construction surveying on the project. That is the engineer's estimate or the design estimate. There will also be an additional cost for the construction, the actual grading and shaping from the contractor, and the Mountain Plum Group is planning on putting that construction as an ad alternate to the existing project. So this would be a separate project cost center for the TIRZ moving into this next year. The reason we bring it forward now is because they're out there now, or will be here in the next few weeks doing the actual work, and we don't have necessarily the time to delay. So what I'm asking the TIRZ board in this action item on item 1 would be to authorize me to engage the engineer on that grading and shaping design of the 21,000 plus the 5,500, so 26,500, and then depending on the timing of the contractor's estimate, I might be able to get that back in front of you in January. If not, if the estimate comes back very quickly and they're ready to move on the project, I don't believe it's going to be a very significant cost. They've got their heavy grading equipment out there already, but that's something that I will be bringing forward to the TIRZ board, or could even use your authorization to give them notice proceed and then bring the contract back to you after the fact. So that is the action I'm looking for. Before I ask you to take that action, I'm going to continue and finish talking about the rest of the plan now. As you recall, there is I think about a 3/4 of a mile trail connection between the east side 39-acre practice field area to the west side 21-acre competitive field area. In the plan that was given to POSAC, we also anticipated having some sort of a pedestrian underpass under 1626, which would connect those two park complexes. You may also be aware from earlier conversations that we've been working with the private sector to round out this public recreational area and have some private interests as well. We've looked at putting those private interests here along 1626, immediately adjacent to the path. Maybe as we, if there's more interest from additional private sector recreational entities, we could push those back here and kind of fill in this area here with some private recreational interests. Looking at the west side 21 acres, you can see this one is a little more deliberate from a competitive or destination standpoint, out-of-town destination standpoint. It's close to the Uptown Retail Center. We hope to have hotel, convention center, many restaurants and dining, other entertainment options for when families come into town. They can utilize this sports area, but then they can stay, play, shop here in the Uptown area. So we have talked to Lone Star Soccer and tried to understand the need for competitive fields here in the Austin region. And based on their feedback, Stephen was able to lay out a field system that could work. This is a little larger than the 21 acres. There's a little bit of private land here that in the future we'll have to discuss with the Negley family. But when all is said and done, this is what that area could look like with parking, the competitive fields, some pavilion, playground area, additional sport courts here, and some non-lighted, just more open recreational fields here on the north side of the drainage structure. Little skate park here, as you can see. I'm going to scroll back up here so you can see what we try to add. I don't want to zoom out too far for everyone that's maybe watching this. Hard to see, but you can see a skate park here associated. The competition soccer fields, the sport courts, over here, the playground, the trail, the lawn, the flexible lawn, exercise equipment being placed around the area, around the path, volleyball courts, the pavilion, playground, restrooms, and practice fields. So it's exciting to see a first iteration of this plan. By no means are we saying this is the final product. And I know that the TIRZ board and city council have talked about really trying to bring in not only a task force, but public in the conversation to make sure that we achieve all the goals and the design elements that the community wants to see out here. We know that we have plans based on the conversation with Lennar and Mountain Plum about having festivals as well that would include fireworks a couple times a year. And, we have 10 festival days that are at our disposal as well. There will be a fence that acts as a buffer between this neighborhood and the field space. I also know Stephen would like to say a few words about the design. So Stephen, go ahead.
Great, thank you. And can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Scott, that was a wonderful overview, and thank you for doing that. And just to echo what Scott was saying, this is as much as anything just to put something on paper from what we've heard today, so that you all have a chance of something to respond to, but also as a point of beginning to improve and constantly advance this to the right program that you all as a community see fit for this open space network. The other thing that I wanted to point out, and why we put this graphic together to show the initial concept plan for Uptown, is to show you how this all links together. One of the most important things about parks and open space and trails is that they all tie together as a system. And so it's not by accident that this 21-acre green space that Scott was referring to stretches all the way over to where the future elementary school will be. And it's not by accident that it's on the terminus of Cromwell Street, which is that major north-south road, which is also your cultural trail, which is also where the Heroes Memorial is. And it's not by accident that the east-west street that goes along the southern side of the Central Park is also a shared use path. And then finally, it's not by accident that there's a green spine that goes up to the northwest, thank you, Scott, that connects the Lennar neighborhood to all of this. So you can start to envision how individuals and families can be bicycling and using these trail connections to get to signature destinations, whether it's a soccer tournament or the Heroes Memorial Park or the Central Park, or being able to start your journey at the Heroes Memorial Park and ride your bike all the way over to the regional detention area on the far east side that Scott originally started off with. So I just wanted to share that with you, that this is where, when we talk about the framework of design, this is where it starts. How do you all stitch things together, and the intentionality of where things go and how park program is placed. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, that's the overview of this first action item. And again, the action I would be looking for from the TIRZ board would be to authorize the city manager to move forward with land dev for the design costs for the grading and shaping of the detention pond.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Can I ask a question before we move forward?
Absolutely.
Okay, and my concern is kind of for the Greg Clark Park area, because I know we have soccer fields over there. And so my first question is going to be, how are those going to be utilized if we get these new soccer fields? Because I don't want to forget that we have that, and I do want to utilize that, but I don't want it to be forgotten. So do we have some type of plan for Greg Clark Park and those soccer fields?
Sorry, I don't know if that train is as loud for you as it is for me. Just let it pass here.
That's by Wallace.
Yes.
One day that train will stop blowing its horn coming through, Kyle.
Can I help try to address that a little bit?
Yes, please do.
I live in that district.
Okay, yeah.
So the field at Wallace is just one field. It's not more than one. So we've got one field, and it's utilized a lot by Pee Wee football. It's been a long time since I've seen anybody out there playing soccer. One reason it's not really set up for it. We could probably work on it a little bit better to do that. These are going to be competitive fields. The fields that we're proposing in Uptown is for tournaments and showcases. So there's places you can go throughout the country, and the cities have built fields similar to this, whether it's softball, baseball, or soccer. Colorado has just around the Denver area, Aurora and all that. All the cities are set up to do programming for tournaments, and that's what this would be. It'd be bringing people in from out of town to do tournaments, and these tournaments get really big. The one in Colorado has teams from throughout the United States. We even have teams from Alaska and Hawaii show up to those. So they're really big tournaments, and this is something that also is happening with soccer. And I think this is something we don't have in the area, is competitive soccer fields where we could do tournaments like this. And it would also benefit the hotels around the area. When we go into Colorado for softball, we fill the hotels up. It's hard to get a hotel, and that's the Denver area. And they've got a lot of hotels and everything, but it really fills up pretty big. It's a great way to bring in out of state and out of city dollars to your area to give an influx to the city.
Okay, so are these plans that we're looking at, are they specific for soccer fields, or are you telling me they could be used for multiple uses?
So everything is extremely conceptual at this point. The goal is to have some tournament fields here, and we actually have an agreement with Lennar to help cost share in the main tournament field. You can see here on the west side, this would be more of the tournament quality fields. But in a true tournament, just having these four, maybe one or two or more would have turf on them. They would want overflow space. So the Kyle Field could be all utilized as tournament, meaning these additional fields here, giving us 9 full-size fields and potentially even the fields at Greg Clark Park, depending on the size of the tournament. So our goal is basically to maximize field or playable space, these being more developed as the permanent fields, and then these being just open areas that could be striped and portable goals brought in for additional tournament play.
Okay, so for area 2, are those going to be just for soccer fields, or are they going to be soccer and softball, like Rizzo was talking about?
Right. Right now, so in this first iteration, this is just soccer.
Okay.
That could change. Keep in mind that I don't think this map goes up that far, but just up here is the Hays County Youth Softball or Baseball Complex.
Okay.
So there's additional fields very close.
Okay. And is there a plan to attract soccer teams?
By partnering with Lone Star, we already have Lone Star here in Kyle, which has been a great partnership up to this point. They have indicated that if we build it, they will come. So they're always looking for competitive field space in the Austin region. They were extremely excited to hear that we could potentially have these fields available to them, and said that they would be very interested in programming them.
Okay, that's all the questions. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or a motion?
Madam Chair,
Mm-hmm.
motion to
Yes.
approve.
Okay. There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's a couple of seconds. Any further discussion? And this is to authorize the city manager to move forward with the grading, design, and construction. Is it with land?
It's land dev on the engineering.
Okay. Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is consider approval of the proposed TIRZ budget for 2021.
And I'll take that one as well. TIRZ Board, at our last meeting, we went through a draft budget for 2021. It is our desire to keep that same draft and have the board authorize that tonight. I can go through it again if you like. I think we did a pretty good job of it at the last meeting, but if you would like, I can go through it one more time.
Is there anybody that would like Scott to review any portion of that budget, or do we have a motion to approve?
Scott, this is Councilmember Rizzo. Could you just give a quick rundown on it for the new council members?
Yes, sir. So I've shared it on the screen. What you see here on the budget is estimated revenues and expenditures. You'll notice that the tax increment for the TIRZ is estimated based on the amount of new development that has occurred within the TIRZ. So you'll see $505,000 from the city's portion. This is a 50% portion from the city, and then the 50% portion from Hays County being about $300,000 for a estimated revenue of $803,923. Minus the beginning fund balance gives a budget of $764. On the expenditure side, there's a small amount for legal administration, general service or general administration as well. We do have the reimbursement back to the general fund for the landscaping at the Performing Arts Center, and then the reimbursement for the Uptown CIP cost for the Central Park Cultural Trails and Heroes Memorial, and then a small contingency. So they basically balance out a little bit there with revenues and expenditures, and so you'll see the estimated ending fund balance of $1,473. And
Okay.
just for the new members, again, the way the TIRZ works is it's incremental tax revenue generated from ad valorem property value increases within the TIRZ. 50% of those property value increases stay within the district to make improvements to the district.
Can I ask a question? I have two questions. This is Councilmember Flores Kale. My first question is is it normal to start out negative?
For a TIRZ fund like this, because up to this point, the revenues for the TIRZ are catching up to the expenditures. So because it's a nascent district, yeah, it is not uncommon to start out, and it's a very small amount that's been incurred. And I can't remember all the costs, a little bit of design work, etc. But up to this point, the TIRZ really has not been generating revenues to cover its costs. So the city's general fund has been incurring those expenditures, and the TIRZ, once it is able to, will reimburse the general fund for those.
Okay, and that ending fund balance, that's only 1,473?
Yeah, that's pretty common. What we try to do is balance out the expenditures to the revenues. So you'll see our estimated expenditures of $700,000 for these large projects. Through the year, there will be different expenditures that kind of pull from different expenditure line items. For example, the action the TIRZ Board just took for the $26,000 of design services that wasn't necessarily anticipated. So that will be tucked into this expenditure line item. That $700,000 will come down by the equivalent amount, and at the end of the fiscal year, there will be a true up, and then we'll end up balancing those expenditures against the revenues.
So if we're off by $1,500, it's going to start off negative next year too?
We'll try to balance it out so that we're even as much as possible. Pervez, I think, is on the call. Pervez, if you want to jump in and add a little more light.
Sure. Madam Chair and board members, for the record, this is Pervez Mohit, City's Director of Finance. Board member Flores Hale, this is TIRZ number 2's second fiscal year. So to answer your question about the beginning balance, that is typical of a starting TIRZ. The revenues are forecasted 12, 14 months ahead, depending on how the development occurs, new development. So the incremental revenues or tax revenues fluctuate from the estimate of projections. To answer your question in terms of the estimated fund balance at the end of the fiscal year, $1,400 is projected at this point. We will see throughout the fiscal year changes in expenditures. So there might be some cost savings that will increase the fund balance by the time we get to September 30th or end of fiscal year. If that occurs, then the beginning balance for the following fiscal year will be a positive balance. Our goal and objective is always to maintain a positive fund balance at the end. So therefore, we will begin the new fiscal year with the positive balance. And we will do that for 2021 as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the TIRZ budget for 2021?
Oh, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay. It's a motion by Councilmember Rizzo. Is there a second?
Councilman Tobias, second.
Okay. Okay, there is a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Next item, number 5, consider approval of the proposed project and finance plan for 2021.
All right, I'm just gonna
Keep
go
going.
out on a limb and say you're gonna want me to go through it. So here we go. Again, we discussed this as a draft at the last meeting. You'll see there the date. These are the large projects for the TIRZ to be a funding source for. And I think I neglected in the last item to really qualify what a TIRZ is. It's really a financing tool. And, it's where we are collecting revenues from the district, putting back into the district, and utilizing TIRZ revenues to pay for improvements that otherwise would not be achievable by just general fund methods. So this board really is overseeing a financial mechanism, and you'll see the large projects that have been discussed multiple times. And each year per statute, the board needs to consider and approve this following year's project and financing plan. So what you see before you is the large projects that we've discussed, as well as the funding sources for those projects. So you'll see here on the project cost side, Central Square Park, and we'll hear a little bit more about that this evening. $4 million estimated cost. The cultural trails at $2 million. Heroes Memorial Park, $4.5 million, and then the Uptown Sportsplex, which we've just gone through, at the $14 million number. The total estimated cost at this point is $24.5 million. The funding sources are listed below, with Texas Disposal System cash donation of $750,000. There's an additional $750,000 of in-kind donation, but those, since they're in-kind, they don't reflect a cash position on the project and financing plan. And then you'll see City of Kyle general fund contributions of $8.5 million that was reprioritized from the wastewater treatment plant CIP. The transfer out for in this current year's budget of $1.75 million. The general obligation bond proceeds of the $7 million that was the Prop B Parks bond, and then the Hayes County contribution of the additional $7 million from their Prop A. Just to remind the TIRZ Board, the propositions for both entities, for the city was $10 million, of which $7 million was earmarked for these Uptown Sportsplex projects. So with that, the total funds, $25 million, and that is that constitutes the 2021 project and financing plan proposal. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Sellers? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the project financing plan and financing plan?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Motion by Mayor Mitchell.
Second.
Okay, and there's a second by, is that Flores Kao?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, trying to recognize voices. Okay, so there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion or any discussion on this? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Next item is update on the Heroes Memorial Park.
This will be, I believe, Philip Koski.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to kind of give a quick overview of where we are and introduce a little bit about some of the future scope. So let me share my screen here. Can everyone see the black and white image on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So where we are right now is we are wrapping up 90% construction documents tomorrow. And so those will be issued. We have received our first round of permit comments from the city of Kyle and are kind of wrapping up some issues related to some utility assignments and a couple other odds and ends. We'll be submitting for a relatively minor building permit for the small pump house related to some of the water features and storage that's in this location here. But generally speaking, yeah, we're just sort of wrapping up technical considerations for the various features throughout the park. Not a lot of news or updates or design changes. Things have stayed pretty stable in terms of, decisions or things to report back for more consideration. So we're feeling really good about where we are. We had a great interview process with some project management firms. I think that was last week. And so we're looking forward to getting those folks on board and getting their opinion on, odds and ends and how to proceed with certain things, especially our Division 1 and contracting and bidding process. So we're still looking to be on track to bid the project and hopefully award it within Q1 and get going pretty quick in the spring on construction.
Okay.
If anyone has specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, Phillips, Councilmember Rizzo. What is the target date for the spring construction start date?
You know, it's hard to say. You know, if we can get everything ready to bid the first week of February, you know, theoretically the contracting process could be wrapped up in March, depending on just how motivated everyone is and how well things go. So, you know, we're still really hopeful for kind of an April 1 shovels in the ground kind of thing, if we can make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if not, thank you so much for the update, and we'll move on to the next agenda item, and it's consider approval of Nudge Design Additional Services, request number 2 for $35,000 for information design. I'm not sure who's
Scott, do you
taking
want
that.
me to kind of elaborate on what's going on?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Let me share some information again here. So when we kicked off the project, we really didn't have a good understanding of what all elements would need to be included in terms of what I refer to as information design. So it's all the various features related to telling the story of why the park is here and the various voices within the park. So, you know, fairly detailed work in terms of getting those high quality graphics and features ready for construction, organizing all of the text and programming all of the images. I mean, it's fairly tedious, as you can imagine. Probably some of you put together a newsletter for your neighborhood association, and there's a lot of opinions on this stuff, so it can be very tedious. So that component of it, as well as more mundane things like park signage for rules and, you know, how trying to get people to behave a certain way or understanding what they are or aren't supposed to do in the space. So there's a number of features that we've kind of gone through over the last, 6 or 8 months, probably 6 months in terms of a design process. So there's sort of a family of freestanding elements that are included. And then those are everything from the actual memorial totems all the way to the POWMIA feature and sort of all of the graphics representing that. And then into the primary wall itself and all of the graphics that become a part of that, which, is a sort of a 10-foot high, mixed media wall with lots of graphics and text and other things that we're working with the community to gather. So short story long, now that we know more about what's included in the park scope from a construction and programming standpoint, we were able to assign a fee to develop that in a technical sense and prepare it for bidding and implementation. But, to be clear, had we prepared that fee ahead of time, it could have been way high or way low. And in fact, we worked really hard with Scott and our team to get that fee down from kind of where it was initially. And so we feel really good that it's just right for getting this job done. It does not include any markup from our firm or anything like that. It's a direct cost for the consulting.
Okay. Any questions regarding that service and the request? If not, is there a motion to approve the service request number 2 for $35,000 for information design?
This is Councilmember Rizzo. I want to make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, is that Ellison?
It's Mayor Pro Tem Coach.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, there is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Thanks. Okay, motion passes. Next is update on Central Square and Cultural Trail.
All right, Stephen.
Great, thank you. Good evening. Hope that you all are doing well. I'm Stephen Spears with MG Cardinal. We are helping the city manage the process for the cultural trail and Central Park. And I'm going to share my screen as well. Can you all see the plan for the park?
Yes.
Great, fantastic, thank you. Before I begin, I want to offer to Councilmember Flores Kale and Councilmember Bradshaw that recognizing that you might be new to the process that has been going on since February to create the program, the plan, the design, and the engineering efforts for the trail and the park, that I'm more than happy to meet with you all one-on-one to go through the presentations that I've done in the past just to bring you up to speed. So if you desire that, I'm more than happy to do that, and I can coordinate that with Scott. Regarding the park, the park and the Heroes Memorial has actually been going on hand in hand, and that was quite intentional. Both the consultant team headed up by Lionheart doing the park and Nudge Design, Philip Koski, who you just heard from earlier, have been working with a very close schedule. So we're right on the same track. The 90% construction drawings were submitted to the city of Kyle last week for the park. We've also have submitted site development permit and building permit and received our first round of comments back. There really hasn't been any significant design changes since our last meeting that we had. The design, once it gets through about 60% level, is locked in place for the most part, and really the last 40% of putting the drawings together is really making sure that everything is technical and appropriate, so a contractor knows how to build it appropriately as set forth in the design. So we're also right on schedule with the 1st of February being the target date for the 100% construction drawings. Same situation that the park will be ready to go sometime in Q1 as well, going through that bidding process. We've been coordinating specifications with the city, as Philip mentioned earlier, and then also coordinating specifications between the Heroes Memorial Park team and the park, the Central Park team. And the reason why that's important is because you don't want to have a set of criteria for a contractor with one park project that's different than the other park project. And I'll just give you an example. The way that trees are staked. When trees go in the ground, the soil has to be amended. It has to be prepared appropriately, and the trees have to be staked. And because these are ultimately going to be parks that you all, as a TIRZ in the city, will be maintaining, we want to make sure that the quality of those trees going in the ground, the preparation of the soil, and the way those trees are staked are same, so that there's generally a consistent quality of implementation right out of the gates. So those are things that we're coordinating together. On the cultural trail, the scope of service for the cultural trail piece, which would be on the plan on the screen east of Everett Street, and then ultimately heading to the northern part of the Heroes Memorial. That segment of the cultural trail has made it through design development, and then it has been stopped. And that's the way that the contract was written. So design development is also that 60% set. And the reason why it has stopped is because the master developer is not ready to build those segments of the road yet. And the cultural trail is part of the entire streetscape and road construction network. And so the design work through 60% is completed. So when the roads are ready to go, then the technical piece, that last 40% of the design, will need to be done so that it gets constructed in concert with those roads at a future date. Any questions with that? I guess the takeaway is that we're right on schedule, and we've been working closely with the Heroes Memorial. And I guess that rolls in right to the next couple items, Scott, if that's okay, if I just roll into the next agenda item. In the last meeting, there was some discussion about budgets just overall. And of course, Scott spoke about that again tonight, and reviewing the budgets for 2021. And one way that we've just been generally exploring ways to help keep things in check as much as possible is the idea of the city purchasing some items through a process called BuyBoard. I didn't really understand what BuyBoard was until I started working with Scott and his team, being or not being inside the city, but it's a really interesting process. And for those who don't understand how it works, I hope I explain it right here, but basically it's a way that the city can competitively purchase items direct, such as in this case, the play equipment and park furniture. And if you recall, when we've talked about the playground design for this park, Lionheart has been working with a playground supply and construction company called KOMPAN. And so the Bobcat, for instance, the signature Bobcat that we've seen many times, that's a custom piece. That's not something you can just open up a catalog and say, I want one of those, or go to a playground manufacturer and say, I want that. This is the first and only Bobcat that KOMPAN has ever done, and the first one that I've ever seen either. So it's a unique item. So in talking with KOMPAN about the budget of the actual play equipment itself and talking about the idea of BuyBoard, KOMPAN was willing to lock in prices for the year, for 2020 prices for all their play equipment, even though the play equipment won't be needed until the year 2021. So as long as there was a letter of intent that the city and the TIRZ have agreed to. And that's what Scott has put on the agenda tonight. And so just to give you some context with that from a budgetary perspective, what KOMPAN has said in these letters is that the supply and install, if you go through BuyBoard, they were able to lock in at, I believe, $675,000, which is about $100,000 less than what we had in our budget when we were just putting the budgets together and trying to think about the overall park efforts. And I'm just specifically talking about the playground area itself. During this process, we have great relationships with many contractors, as you can imagine. And so I've had informal conversations with a couple contractors, just asking them about certain pieces of the park, just to gut check and make sure that we weren't too far off base or we were too low and too high and things like that. And what I learned in those informal conversations, and I want to stress that they were informal, they were not hard bids like what you have from KOMPAN tonight, is that their numbers were actually a couple $100,000, or even in one case $300,000 higher than what KOMPAN is offering through the BuyBoard process. So from my perspective, as a consultant helping the city, it seems like it's a wonderful opportunity here for us to be, fiscally accountable in a situation where we're really trying to make a profound impact on a park. And then the other piece of that, which I know Scott is eager to talk about tonight, which is the owner's rep project manager interviews. And Philip certainly mentioned that earlier. We asked that very question in the interviewing process: how comfortable or how familiar are you, or how the firms that we interviewed, were they with the BuyBoard process and how it works, just to make sure that there isn't confusion. The last thing anyone wants is that there's a direct purchase and the playground equipment arrives, March 15th, and the contractor doesn't need it to be there till June, and then just like sits there and no one knows what to do. And so that's one of the beauties of an owner's rep, is for them to organize and maintain that schedule. And the consultant that Scott is going to put before you tonight was very familiar with BuyBoard process. They gave us a couple of examples, and they absolutely acknowledged the importance of their job is to manage those owner direct purchase items that would come to the site that the contractor would be responsible for coordinating when they do come to the property. So that was a long-winded item. Scott, if you wanted to add anything else about that, the KOMPAN letter of intent, please feel free. I just wanted to roll right into that since it was a cost item associated with the park.
I think you did a great job, Stu.
Okay.
Are there any specific questions that you have for Scott or me regarding the BuyBoard idea? And I only say that because this is the last meeting of the year, and if the TIRZ in the city does decide to lock in those 2020 dollars, I believe that action will need to be taken in order for Scott to prepare that letter. I believe, Scott, I don't want to speak out of turn, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, it would be through the city's BuyBoard authority, our membership.
This is Councilman Tobias here. I have a quick question in referencing some of the pricing. Will these prices that we have be locked in? Let's say, for example, you've got the KRS Custom Robina Bobcat Custom. Is that the big playscape or the Bobcat design that's been mentioned? It's got it for $133,600. Is that going to be a locked-in price to where later on they're not going to come back and say we need it for $175?
Correct. So Scott and I met with the sales representatives from KOMPAN, and it is my understanding that the letter of intent that would be crafted and delivered to them would lock in the 2020 prices based on this specific sheet that you have in front of you.
Okay. That includes the Skywalk for $195, right?
Correct. So that list that you have in front of you is the complete entire playground package of all the various play equipment, from inclusive play to adventure play, all the entire package that I presented to you last month.
Are there any of these have the sensory equipment that I had mentioned before? Trying to look here.
Yes, yes, I'm happy to pull up that presentation from last TIRZ meeting, or meet with you one-on-one to show you how each of the items meet certain criteria for inclusive play and sensory play.
But they are in there, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is Councilmember Flores Kale. I don't have any questions, but I would like to get with Steven Spears maybe before the end of the year so we can kind of catch up and I can kind of know what I'm talking about next meeting.
Sure, I'm more than happy to meet with you. I recognize where you all are entering the process. So I'm more than happy to sit down with you and even go back to the 1st of February. Gosh, it seems so long ago. It was like pre-pandemic, when this project first started, and start there and walk you through the entire process to where we are today, just to bring you up to speed. I'm happy to do that.
That would be great, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay. So Scott, we're needing a motion to authorize you to prepare the letter of intent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do we have a motion? Mhm.
Madam Chair, Councilmember
Yes.
Ellis.
Mhm.
I know at our council meeting on Tuesday, we officially hired AGCM for the police facility. So I don't have my agenda in front of me. Do we need to take official action for them with these parks? And the reason why I asked this is because I'd like to get, it looks like Ryan's on the call here, Ryan's thoughts on BuyBoard and the pros and cons from his perspective.
Gosh, y'all are going to put me on the spot right away, aren't you? Not even a break-in period.
Nope, that's what we're paying.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Roseborough with AGCM Project Management. I apologize. I'm sitting in the parking lot of my daughter's basketball practice, so it looks a little shady where I'm sitting. I promise it's not shady. It's a basketball parking lot. So anyway, I'm very familiar with BuyBoard. It can be a great tool. Under normal conditions, we feel like the open market is always a sure bet when you put something out to bid, because then you know you're going to get competitive pricing and you know you're getting the best possible deal. However, with the COVID pandemic, it's kind of sent all that open market mantra into a tailspin. So if somebody's willing to lock in prices for you now for a year, I'd say that's a pretty good pitch right there. I'd support that 100%.
Councilmember Kale, for the record, I have a question. So if the price goes down, does anybody know if it would be adjustable in that sense, or does it just stay the same?
I can try to answer that question to the best that I know. What KOMPAN has assured us is that in 2021, their prices are all going to go up by 4 to 5%. And so this is, so I'm not sure it will go down. What we're seeing is two different, I guess we'll call them purchase orders that are in front of you right now. One is of the play equipment itself, which is the purchase price, which I think is like $400 and some $1,000. And then there's a second one for them to install it, which is at $200 and some $1,000. So I only know from what they've told me is that at least on the purchase price side, or the purchasing, the actual equipment, the $400,000 version of it, that is going to go up in 2021. Like most things. I mean, it's just, I think it's inflation, everything else.
So, Madam Chair, as Councilmember Rizzo, usually there's a big increase in January. We usually get, in construction, the official notices from all the companies that we buy from, all the supply houses, and those have already gone out. So we do expect a price increase in January. So this is typical. Every year we see construction prices, material, labor, everything going up. Nothing goes backwards in construction. It always goes forward. And I know if we could lock something in right now, it'd be great for us because the price is going up. COVID has really played a big factor in it. People think that construction's down because of COVID. It actually isn't. It's actually been moving really quickly, and it's hard to get electricians, plumbers, anyone out in the field to what do you call it, to your project. There's so many projects going on in our area. We're really growing fast, and to be able to lock something in, it'd be a bonus. So I'm glad that we've got this opportunity.
Is that a motion, council member, to move forward with the letter of intent?
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the letter of intent authorizing the city manager to lock in a price from BuyBoard.
Okay. Second. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, any? I can't think of what I'm trying to say.
All opposed?
Yes, thank you. I could not think. Any opposed? Okay, if not, the motion passes. Thank you, and thank you for the help. Let's see. So next, and we spoke on this already some, and Scott, if you want to expand on it, is to direct the city manager to negotiate an agreement with AGCM Inc. for owners representative services for the Central Park and Central Trail and Heroes Memorial Park.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. At the last meeting, the TIRZ Board authorized a task force to interview and bring back a recommendation at this meeting for owners rep services. The city council then subsequently authorized the same action. Those interviews were held last week, and four firms were interviewed, of which AGCM was selected by the task force. The city council has authorized the same action for the public safety facility, as mentioned by Councilmember Ellison. Tonight, we would request from the TIRZ Board to authorize me to negotiate with AGCM for the Central Park, Cultural Trail, and Heroes Memorial Park project. I'm happy to answer any questions, and as you know, Ryan Rosborough is here on the line and can also answer questions.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement as written.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any questions or discussion on this motion or on this item? Okay, if not, all in favor. Oh, yes.
I'll just say that, you know, the schedule moving forward is we'll bring back an agreement for the TIRZ Board to approve. The owner's rep will be very responsible for keeping these projects on time and on budget. And I know that sounds so trite, but it is so very important, and we're very happy with AGCM. They did a great job in the interview, and we think that they are the ones to keep this on time and on budget.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Okay, if not, the motion passes.
I will pay you, Ryan. Thank you, sir. Or soon to be. Thank you for your input, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We very much look forward to working with your team, and Philip and Stephen look forward to working with you as well and meet you soon. Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you all. And so the next item I have is discussion on meeting date for January 2021. Do you have a date in mind, Scott?
Well, Madam Chair, it can be as early in January as you would like. Again, the action to bring forward would be the actual agreement with AGCM, and then we will give them the notice proceed, and they should be ready to go by the letting of the contracts for the construction. So really, any time in January would work for us, I believe. And I'm gonna just ask Stephen and Philip if there's any sort of critical action in January that you'll be looking for time-wise?
I don't think that there is necessarily critical action as much of a formality, because the 100% drawings will be nearly complete, and that may technically want to happen in February if it's desired by the TIRZ to officially say, yes, we have the bid set and we're putting it out to bid. I would like to take just a brief moment though and express a point of view for the January meeting, specifically as it relates to the contract with AGCM. We will, and Philip and I have had a chance to talk about this. We will need them to start as soon as possible to help get the procurement process of the bid documents solidified to work with the best interest of the city, so that we can put that out to bid as early as possible, because of the September 11th, 2021 deadline of the Heroes Memorial Phase 1 starting. So I don't want to put pressure on you all. I just want you to know, the earlier that we can get them going, the earlier we can get the project out to bid, the earlier we can select a contractor, the earlier the contractor can get started to hit that September 11th deadline. So long story short, the first half of January selfishly would make the park project team happier than, let's say, the latter half of January for your next meeting.
Okay. Well, I mean, do we want to try for January 7th? Or is there another date that a council has in mind that would work?
Madam Chair, as Councilmember Rizzo, January 7th looks really good for me. I'd really encourage the rest of us to consider January 7th. I know some of the questions I asked for Philip earlier was, what's the anticipated start date of the project? I'm ready for shovels to be turning, and I'm really looking forward to this project. It's going to be an amazing project, but if we do have a September 11th target date, the sooner the better. So I move that we move the meeting to January the 7th.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I concur with Councilmember Rizzo on getting the ball rolling. I know we've been pressing Nudge and Mark and everyone else involved to keep things moving, and we certainly have told them to get on us if we're lagging and keeping them from moving. So I know they've been very polite and probably not wanted to do that as much, but we are all pushing each other. I do want to note, just out of gratitude, Mr. Ryan did put in the chat that they would be willing to start even before a contract is signed if it helps the city in the project. That is very, that's really awesome of them, and certainly appreciate that. Just for their sake too, though, and just making sure everything is buttoned up, I appreciate them willing to do that. And I'd like to get a contract still done as soon as possible. I typically have a Thursday meeting, the first Thursday meeting every month, but for me, I would be willing to move that around or not attend that to get this going on January 7th.
Okay. I'm fine with January 7th also. Is there anyone that wants to propose anything else, or is January 7th okay with everyone?
Well, I'm fine with it just as well. I think I'll third that. We want to get these projects going. I know COVID put a big damper this past year, so we really need to get on the ball, and we got to do whatever it takes going forward, including in council, to meet as regular as possible. And if it means earlier in the month or on a Saturday or a Friday, I don't care. Let's get these things going.
Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and set it for January 7th. Is that at 7 p.m.? Okay,
7 p.m. sounds good.
all righty.
On January 7th.
Okay. All righty. Scott, do we need to go into executive session?
No, ma'am.
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Yes.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All righty.
Second.
Well, okay. We have
Good night, everyone.
multiple seconds, and I really appreciate again. Thank you all. Well, I guess let's all those in favor.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? You want to keep going? Okay. Well, thank you all again so much for your attendance tonight. And if I don't see y'all before then, have a wonderful and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Commissioner.
Debbie.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Mhm.